What is up, everyone? Today I'm going to be talking about the two majors that are happening this weekend across the world, being the Kroger and Luminosity Invitational happening this Saturday in Miami, Florida, and Game is Game happening in France. I just wanted to preempt the tournaments and talk about them, and also announce that I'm going to be streaming these. I'm probably at least going to be streaming the top 8 of the Luminosity Invitational, and then probably like the top 16, maybe top 8 of Game is Game on Sunday. So I'll be streaming Saturday and Sunday, just so you're aware, both here and on Twitch. But let's go over the brackets. So first, let's go over Game is Game again, the major happening in France this weekend. It has some amazing talent. Of the top 8 seeds include Shutone, Siski, Mudace, Gact, Gluto, Jogibu, Yaura, Raflo, as well as MK Big Boss, Rarkior, Lugi, Crepe Soleil, Orion, Flo, a bunch of good players. Let's just go over, I'm not going to really go over the round 1 pools, but let's go over this top 64 bracket. Low-key, Mr. R Leon is going to be a hot set over here. Low-key, Mr. R Leon is going to be a hot set over here, and I can see Mr. R or Leon beating Shutone just because the inability to go Olimar for Shutone and then maybe just getting gimped, but I'm not sure. We'll see that. I know Mr. R plays Sheik, so Sheik versus Aegis is a good matchup, I think, for Sheik, so that should be good. But then if Shutone and Siski both win out, which I think is likely, then Shutone's going to advance into top 8 because he plays Olimar versus Siski, which is an unwinnable matchup, both because Siski is a Samus player and because Siski is European. Siski, I think, does have a good record on both Flo and Mezcal, so he should be fine either way. For the next section, Mudace is probably going to have to go up against Orion, although it could be Nightox, even though I haven't heard Nightox doing crazy good Lucas stuff since like a couple years ago, so I don't know how he is relative to the other players in France. Like, not saying he's bad, I legitimately don't know. So if Mudace has to play Nightox, that might be a little scary, because I think Lucas does pretty well versus Peach, but Wolf, I think that is more in Mudace's wheelhouse, so he should win that, and then he's going to have to play against Gact, because Gact has a good bracket. He has to play Pew, and then Crepe Soleil's Wario, which Wario Ness is a very good matchup for Ness. I know Gact has beat Gluto multiple times, so that's a rough pull for Crepe Soleil, although Crepe Soleil does play Steve, so we might see the Steve come out there. But Mudace versus Gact, I would love to see that. I don't remember if I've seen that before ever. Mudace, of course, super entertaining player. Gact, super entertaining player. That matchup seems fun to watch too, so I would look forward to that. Gluttony has to get past Spectral and Andres FN if Andres FN gets past Neros, which, hey, maybe I'm gonna DM Neros some advice, so that way we can have a Pikachu in the round before quarters, and then lose to Gluttony, because it's Gluttony, he's really good. In theory, he would have to go up against Jogibu, but Jogibu has to play against MK Big Boss, although I think Jogibu will win that because he's crazy with the Falcon. You know, the Falcons in Japan have just been doing so well. Big Boss versus Nadoru is also kind of scary for Big Boss, but Big Boss, after the really good showing at the tournament last weekend, Invasion in the UK, I think he can win both of these, but definitely going to be an uphill battle for him. And I would love to see Jogibu versus Gluto. I think that would be a super fun set because, you know, the Falcon aerial's not really going to let Wario set up, but at the same time, Gluto's Gluto. He's really good at this game. You know, hasn't been doing as well recently because of both a controller switch as well as just a little bit of rough tournaments at the very beginning of the year. But Gluttony still should make top 8, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jogibu or Big Boss beat him. This last little section is actually kind of crazy. We have Yaura, who of course should do very well here. He has a good bracket, in my opinion. If Rarkior ends up beating Maze Beans, so in Sora versus Steve, then Sora Samus is very good for Samus. But Steve Samus can be a little tricky, although of course Yaura, very experienced. I mean, Maze Beans is also experienced. There's a lot of Samuses in Europe, so that could be an interesting matchup here. And then if wins that, Yaura would have to play Raflo, but Raflo first would have to fight Lugi. And you know what's crazy? Raflo and Lugi haven't played. I looked it up. They haven't played each other. That is insane to me that Raflo and Lugi have not played. Like, they don't show up in each other's presentation. Like, that's crazy to me considering they're two top European players. I expect them to play, or the site's broken, which that's possible too. But that's insane. Yeah, they literally haven't played. That is absolutely insane to me that the two of the best, that like not, I guess like two of the top 5 European players, I would say, haven't played each other once. So that's insane. That would be a super fun set to watch. But Yaura honestly should clean up either of these. I know that obviously Samus versus Luigi is a good matchup for Samus. Yaura also has experience in Luigi, so it's not like Luigi's going to have the huge matchup experience difference because of, like, you know, Siski and Quick, although he probably has more experience. But Yaura plays against Daru a lot, and then obviously knows the Palu matchup, although Palu I think does beat Samus, or at least even with Samus, so that'll be a very interesting set. Yaura's got a tough path, even though he should win. Yaura's just amazing. According to Seed, we have Shutone versus Mudace, which just, you know, Mudace just took his first set at Cirque de CFL 3, so Shutone still favored there, I would say. And then Gluto versus Yaura, I don't know if they've played before. Yeah, Gluttony and Yauda have not played before, so that would also be a very interesting set. I would probably favor Yauda just because Samus is obnoxious sometimes. Then in losers, we would have Siski Gact, which I think they played at, I think that was who's Gact super popped off on at whatchamacallit, at the Delfino Mazza. I think that was Gact beating Siski. And then Jogibu Rafflo, again, I'm very excited for how Jogibu does here because him and Karaage have been doing absolutely crazy in Japan recently. So that is Game, which again, I will be streaming on Sunday. And Saturday, I will be streaming the Kroger Gaming Presents Luminosity Invitational, so let's go over those pools. For those of you that are unaware, it's a 10-person bracket, 2 round-robin pools of 5 players. 1 player, the bottom player, gets eliminated from the tournament, and then the top 8 continues. And these pools are absolutely stacked. First off, we have Tweak, Light, Leo, Dabuz, and Hungrybox. Hungrybox, I think, was a replacement for Zamba because I think Zamba didn't want to go last second or something. That's what I've heard. I don't actually know if that's the case, but this is a crazy pool. We obviously have Tweak and MK Leo here. We have Tweak Light. We have Leo Dabuz. There's a lot of rivalries here. This honestly looks like a very, very tough pool for Dabuz in particular. I feel like the only person he does okay again. I mean, he does well versus Hungrybox. Like, Hungrybox, unfortunately, is going to almost surely be the loser of this pool because these players are ridiculous. Although he did almost beat Mia at Cirque du CFL 3, which was crazy. But I feel like Dabuz only has a good, shot against Tweak, and even then I don't know how his characters do versus Sephiroth. Almost assuredly going to be like a min pool straight up all the way, but that's really rough for him. I mean, Light does very well versus him, Leo does very well versus him, Tweak and him go back and forth, so that's going to be rough. I don't know if like the bottom 2 players go into losers, the top 2 players go into winners, or how exactly that works. But yeah, this is a crazy pool, and the other one, honestly, even crazier. We have Sonics, Shattuck, Meister, Riddles, and Mars who got invited, so that's going to be an amazing pool in my opinion. Shattuck obviously just beat Meister for the first time at Genesis. I think he's beat Riddles a couple of times. I don't know if he hasn't played Sonics recently. I actually asked him on the Stride podcast, The Den, which, hey, if you want to check that out, you can always check us out Tuesdays at twitch.tv/esports_stride. But Shattuck and Sonics haven't played since either of them like ascended to where they are now, so that should be a really fun set. I know Sonics has a lot of experience in the matchup because Spargo's been playing against him. And just people have just been going Corrin versus Sonic, so Sonics will have the experience. Shattuck probably has Sonic experience as well. And then like, will Meister get his run back versus Shattuck? Will Riddles be able to beat Shattuck? I know Shattuck's beat him a couple times. And Mars, of course, doesn't compete very often. He has a very crazy pool. I know he struggled with Riddles in the past, but I feel like Zero Suit can do well versus the fighting game characters. Obviously, Mars has a great matchup versus Meister. Mars, I think, or Zero Suit beats Corrin in my opinion, just because of the speed differential. So that can be interesting. Although again, Shattuck has been absolutely crazy and is playing like a top 5 or 7 player right now in the world. And I don't think Mars has fought Sonics ever, so that should be interesting. I definitely think, Mars, of course, is an amazing player. He does super well every time he enters something, so I think he can do very well. I legitimately, one player not making it to top 8 out of these players is insane, and I legitimately don't know who it's going to be. Like, I would say it's probably not Sonics because Sonics at least has 2 wins, I would assume, on Meister and Riddles. But I legitimately don't know. I would be surprised at literally every one of these players getting... Okay, yeah, and then looking at bracket, it does seem like the 1st and 2nd seeds go into winners and the 4th and 3rd seeds go into losers, probably for time purposes, because again, they're running this all in one day, which is, in my opinion, crazy. So we have that, and that's going to be wild. So I would assume Sonics is going to be up here somewhere. I don't know if Tweak's going to be up here because, again, Tweak might lose to Light, Tweak might lose to Leo. Tweak might lose to Hungrybox. Imagine Hungrybox being the 1st or 2nd seed of the pool. But yeah, I honestly don't know how to call this. I assume Dabuz is going to be down here just because he has a rough pool for him in terms of matchups. But other than that, I legitimately don't know who's going to be anywhere. So it's not honestly even a point looking at this top 8 bracket. But again, you can watch it with me on stream. That's going to be amazing. Both events are going to be super hype. A lot of top talent, both in the North American scene and the European scene, so I very much look forward to that. What are you looking forward to? Do you have any pools or sets in particular that you're excited to watch? Let me know down in the comments down below. And while you're down there, of course, don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, that's going to be about it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, social media, Stride, and partner stuff is down below, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.